Good evening. I'm sure you can all tell that I come from the Far East of London. From the enchanted land of Hackney, actually, just up the road. My dad was Chinese, my mum was from Dagenham. I'm Dagenese. My father came to Britain in 1927 as a seaman, and he settled in Liverpool. He didn't follow the stereotypical route of starting up a business. Instead, he joined up with politically conscious youth like himself. He belonged to that international wave of idealists who were trying to build a better society out of the horrors of 2 world wars, a society that served the mass of humanity and not just a tiny elite at the top. He lived a useful life here, working as a firefighter and then a newspaperman until his death in 2004, aged 96. The Chinese are part of the human global migration, just like everyone else. The first recorded Chinese person in Britain was a Jesuit priest called Michael Shen Fu Song, who arrived here in 1685. He helped the Oxford Bodleian Library catalogue their books, their Chinese books, at a time when nobody even knew which way to hold them up. He became a favourite of King James II, and his portrait still hangs in the Queen's Gallery. The Chinese made sacrifices too. During the First World War, 96,000 men were served in the Chinese Labour Corps doing the filthy and dangerous work on the battlefields of Europe. So migrants count. Where would we be without the Windrush immigrants who came from the Caribbean in the 1950s? Who else would have run our transport and our National Health Service? We know there's a net benefit from immigration, both economically and culturally. Think Jewish emigres in Hollywood and what they did for comedy. What would music sound like without a black influence? ABBA. I apologise to ABBA aficionado. Human history is a history of migration. We Homo sapiens walked out of Africa some 60 to 120,000 years ago. But there were some who would have it that the various races sprung up as separate entities from independent origins. For example, one school of thought in China, initiated by Western scientists and taken up by Chinese nationalists, said that the Chinese were an entirely separate race of Peking man, Homo erectus, who migrated from Africa about 750,000 years ago, way before Homo sapiens, the beta version. I can't tell you how relieved I was when Professor Jin Lee carried out thousands of genetic tests over 5 years, and he proved, to the best of our current knowledge, that aside from a little bit of interbreeding between Peking man, Homo erectus, and early Homo sapiens, every person on the planet is part of the same line of East Africans that developed into modern humans. So welcome to the family. We're all related. Oh, and some of us have about 3% Neanderthal DNA knocking around inside us. Now, some point at the racial groups and they say, epicanthic fold, skin colour, hair texture, we can't possibly be related. But have you seen what happens at the fringes of these race regions, how the distinctions get blurred? So if you look at the people in the north of China, where it's cold, and these people are very tall and they have almost Romanesque bridges to their noses. But the people in the south of China, where it's hotter, tend to be shorter and they have little or no bridges to their nose. So it's not all black and white. Our common ancestor, one common ancestor we share, is said to be mitochondrial Eve, and she lived somewhere between 100,000 and 200,000 years ago. She carried all our characteristics in her DNA, which means, and that's why I can see my nose in black Africans, my eyes in Slavs, and my hair extensions in the petrochemical industry, but that's, that's something else. These are the signs we move around, we mate, we're human. So why would anyone want to create divisions in the human family instead of finding what links us? Western Enlightenment thinkers, focusing on science and reason and art, said that we're all God's creations with individual souls. Every man, and that's who they were talking about, is born equal. But at the same time, their society was enslaving their fellow soulmates, black Africans. So how do you square that if we're all born equal? A rationalization had to be found, and the easiest one went, they're different. They are other. Look at their physical characteristics. That difference means they're inferior, and therefore they deserve to be conquered by me and my kind under some sort of divine mandate to civilize them. On the white side of my family, the marker for inferiority wasn't so much skin and hair as the smell of garlic, which my father and I ate with gusto in order to ward off the smell of vegetables being boiled until safe. But hey, that was their thing, that's okay. If I am other, if I am neither kith nor kin, then how can I expect kindness from those whose kind I am not, when my difference is on display for all to see? It's still going on. Professor Niall Ferguson wrote in Newsweek magazine that the sexually frustrated Chinese male is our greatest enemy. Everyone should lock up their daughters, he said. Such a charmer. Then there are the politicians, also with the initials NF, coincidentally, who point at the powerless and accuse them of nicking our stuff. A banker, a worker, and an immigrant are sitting at a table where there are 10 pies. The banker eats 9 of the pies and says to the worker, "Watch out, he's after your pie." Scapegoats are needed. Capitalism's going through a convulsion at the moment where we're all being shaken out. But capitalism isn't dying, it's mutating. It just doesn't need us anymore. Any system that doesn't serve human beings but grinds us up to make it creak on regardless just isn't working. Capital knows no geographical boundaries. It seeks new markets and ever cheaper labour. But labour can't go around chasing employment. When James Dyson's revolutionary new domestic appliance became a huge commercial hit, what's the first thing he did? He closed down production in Wiltshire and moved it to Malaysia. Sir James Dyson, this is. Capital chasing cheap labour. But you won't find Malaysians flocking over here for better wages. That isn't allowed. But it's not immigrants who crashed our economy. It's not immigrants treating it all as a giant game of roulette or a flutter on the GGs. They didn't decide not to build housing or to get the state to subsidise high rents, low pay, soaring rail costs. Unless you're talking about the corporations from abroad. And of course, they don't count. Our privatised transport, our power, our water, and our housing are increasingly owned by these people, by foreign capital, to the benefit of investors, not us, the consumer, the citizen who actually used to own all this stuff via the public purse. When a society is doing well, it embraces difference. You want fresh input. It's what makes us grow. When a society sees difference as a bad thing, then you know something's gone horribly wrong. Human beings are social animals. We need connection. Love is the highest level on which human beings interact. And I'm not talking about romantic, sentimental, nuclear, family, blood ties. I mean the fundamental glue that holds us all together. If, in order to realize your heaven, you have to make someone else's life a hell, then this is destructive for all parties, all round. We need systems that serve humanity as a whole, not just a tiny privileged group at the top. So, who is it who's eaten all the pies and keeps on eating them while we're asleep? We have to wake up from this science fiction writer's coma dream in which we're all trapped. The sleep of reason produces monsters, and one of them, as Rosa Luxemburg warned, is barbarism. This is the course on which we're sailing. Let's take the wheel. Let's turn this planet into a home, a haven, and a heaven for all of us. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.